So, where does Sonic go from here? He's had 3 hit games and he's taking the world by storm. Changing Sonic from a 2D perspective to a 3D one would obviously be the next logical step. Years went by and a true 3D Sonic platformer was yet to show its face. We got other games in the meantime like Sonic the Fighters, Sonic R and Sonic 3D Blast, but it just wasn't the same. To make matters worse, Mario had already made the leap into the next generation, and Sony already had the Crash and Spyro games under their belt. There was a Sonic game being developed for the Sega Saturn titled Sonic Extreme, but after several builds and controversy involving Yuji Naka and the Nights and Dreams engine, the game was officially cancelled. Needless to say, Sonic was in very hot water at this point. Things seemed bleak, but there was hope in the form of Sonic World in Sonic Jam. You play as Sonic in a 3D Green Hill Zone where you run around and collect rings as well as view some cool extras. Using that as a template, Sega finally made a real 3D Sonic game in 1999. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Sonic Adventure. Being the first traditional platformer in 5 years, a lot was riding on this game's shoulders. But is it still fun to play nowadays? Only one way to find out. The game opens up with Sonic running on the rooftops with a complete redesign and voice acting to boot.
Oh yeah! This is happening!
I'll talk about the voice acting later. After tailing the authorities, Sonic comes face to face with a water monster, Sonic of course taking it out effortlessly. The next day, Sonic encounters Tails, who crashes his prototype plane powered by a Chaos Emerald. Sonic and Tails take a trip to the Mystic Ruins, but not before being interrupted by Dr. Eggman. No, I didn't get his name wrong. Dr. Eggman is what he's always been called in Japan. If I'm honest, I think their name helps to emphasize his more unpredictable nature. It's more of an insult rather than his actual name in this game, and I really like how it was handled. You gotta remember that there are still people out there that call him Robotnik because that's all they know. So I do like the fact that the game at least acknowledges the change. Regardless of such, I will be referring to the good doctor as Eggman from now on.
I am Dr. Robotnik, the greatest scientific genius in the world.
Whatever you say, Eggman.
Enough!
With his latest contraption smashed, Eggman swipes Tails' Chaos Emerald. As it turns out, the water monster that Sonic fought earlier, known as Chaos, is actually working for Eggman. Chaos gets increasingly more powerful for every emerald it consumes. So Sonic and Tails go to hunt down the emeralds before the Doctor can get his hands on them and turn Station Square into rubble. Meanwhile, Knuckles is busy searching for the pieces of the Master Emerald after Eggman blew it up to release Chaos. Eggman tricks Knuckles into thinking Sonic is collecting Master Emerald shards too. Sonic and Knuckles quickly butt heads, causing Sonic to lose all of his emeralds. After duking it out with Chaos once again, Sonic and Tails take the tornado to take down Eggman's new egg carrier with little success. Sonic lands in one of the beaches of Station Square. Whilst looking for Tails, he runs into Amy, who ends up getting kidnapped by one of Eggman's robots. Sonic gives chase, which leads him to reunite with Tails and crash land on the egg carrier. The two rescue Amy, with Sonic literally jumping off the egg carrier to pursue Eggman. Now, why the hell did he think that was a good idea? A mythical ball of light guides Sonic in what is assumed to be the same ruins that Eggman used to initially discover Chaos. Shortly after, Sonic soon finds himself in an unknown location with a burning Master Emerald shrine in the distance. Sonic snaps back to reality to once again find Eggman hanging around the forest. One more broken robot later and Sonic's story ends in much of the same fashion as the classic games. Notice how I said Sonic's story. That's because as you go through Sonic's campaign, you will unlock 5 additional characters. Every character has their own unique storyline, and you're gonna need to play them all if you want to reach the final boss and uncover the full story. The cool thing about watching cutscenes that you've already watched is that you get to see the same scenario play out from that character's perspective. For example, when you play as Tails, Sonic will mostly hang in the back, with Tails getting the majority of the dialogue, emphasizing how much Tails wants to be like Sonic. Some of the script has also been altered as well. Sega didn't have to do that, but I like the attention to detail. I also also think giving each character their own story really helps for character development. When the tornado gets shot down by the egg carrier, Tails is reminiscing about the time he and Sonic first met. It's there that he realises just how dependent he is on Sonic. At the end of Tails' story, Robotnik tries to detonate a dud missile that he launched at the city. Now that Tails is confronted with a life-threatening situation, he musters up the courage to confront Eggman, which ends with Tails saving Station Square, giving him a massive confidence boost. He isn't completely independent yet, but Sonic Adventure 2 will expand on this even further. Amy is a resident of Station Square who is fed up of her boring life and longs to go back to her adventuring days with Sonic. Right at that moment, she bumps into a bird that escaped from the egg carrier. Soon after, she's chased and captured by Zero. No, not that one. Once she's been rescued by Sonic, she decides to go find the bird's family on the egg carrier, which leads to her crossing paths with Zero once again. Enraged that Zero injured her feathered friend, she sends him to the junkyard. From this point forward, Amy vows that she's going to get Sonic to respect her, instead of being the one to blindly follow him around.
I'll make that Sonic respect me.
Remember that for me, will ya? However, my favourite story in this game is Gamma's. Gamma is the second robot in Eggman's new E-Series line. He soon rises through the ranks and becomes the Doctor's favourite, to the point where Eggman abandons his robotic brethren. Despite this, Gamma has a change of heart when he meets Amy and the flicky bird he was sent to retrieve. From that moment on, Gamma chooses not to serve Eggman and instead decides to rescue the other E-Series robots, or his friends in his own words. Gamma then comes to the realisation that in order to free all the animals, he will need to be destroyed along with his superior E-101 Beta.
Gamma. Beta.
The twist is that the birds that come out, the two robots, are the family of the bird that Amy was taking care of. These final moments don't really have much in the way of dialogue, but they don't need to, instead letting the scene and the music speak for itself. It's a brilliant moment. A lot of people consider this ending sad due to the quote-unquote death of Gamma. I see this as a happy ending, as Gamma is finally free from his programming along with his family. They even expanded Knuckles' backstory. In each of the 6 stories, sometimes the Ball of Light from earlier will send the characters back in time to learn more about Chaos' origin and his relationship with an echidna girl named Tikal. When you complete all of the characters' storylines, you learn that Chaos is indeed still alive, even after being beaten by both Sonic and Knuckles. Not only that, but he's stolen the Chaos Emeralds right under Knuckles' nose. The Ball of Sunshine comes back one more time to show Sonic Tikal sealing herself in the Master Emerald along with Chaos. Sonic comes to his senses once again and goes to find the remaining Chaos Emerald by locating the Tornado 2. Unfortunately, they're too late. Chaos consumes the last emerald and shit really starts to go down. The good news is that nobody was killed in the flooding.
Absolutely no one.
The magical ball of light from before is revealed to be Tikal, who sealed herself in the Master Emerald alongside Chaos. By using the positive energy found within the Chaos Emeralds, Sonic transforms into Super Sonic to neutralize Chaos. Chaos is reverted back to a calmer state of mind and returns back to the Master Emerald along with Tikal. Finally, the game ends with Sonic jumping around on the crumbled ruins of Station Square, ready for another adventure.
All's well that ends well, right?
Phew, that was a mouthful. If I can comment on one thing, it's the way that the overall story is told to the player. Like I said before, I really like how each of the characters' stories are told from their perspective. I think that it's great for world building and fleshing out the characters, but I also think it makes the plot much more complex than it needs to be. Keep in mind, what I just told you is a heavily abridged version. If I was going to go into every detail, I'd be talking for the next 20 minutes. I didn't even mention Big Story, and that's mainly because he has no impact on the overall plot. Even his pet frog plays a bigger part than he does, as Froggy possesses Chaos's tail. A lot of fans have an issue with Super Sonic only being available for the final fight against Perfect Chaos. As for me, however, I honestly think it works better with the narrative. It emphasizes the drama of the situation and makes Super Sonic feel like a last resort. Plus, if you've seen my previous reviews, you know I'm not fond of the idea of having that much power at your fingertips, because I feel like it gets to the point where you don't even have to try. This story has a lot going for it, but I can't get truly invested into it thanks to the cheesy writing, terrible lip syncing, and very stiff character animations.
Watch out! You're gonna crash! Ah! Tails!
I'd like to say it's due to the game being a product of its time, but I really can't, as both the Crash and the Spyro series don't have these issues. And they were released before Sonic Adventure came out, so I don't know what to tell you. Despite the writing being up and down and all around, I do like how the voice actors choose to portray their characters. Sonic's voice actor, Ryan Drummond, feels very energetic when put to the test, while also having a calm and collected side to him when not in a heated battle. Tails' voice actor, Corey Bringis, gets a lot of flack for the delivery of a handful of lines.
That's Eggman. I wonder what happened to Sonic.
But with some of the later voice actors, I think that Tails lost his childlike demeanour. I'm not saying his performance is Oscar worthy, but I'll give credit where credit is due. As far as kid actors goes, he does okay. My favourite of the voice cast is the late Dean Bristow as Dr. Eggman, as he captures the Doctor's goofy side, while also making him sound genuinely threatening on occasion.
You fool. Away, before I make mincemeat out of you.
That's not to say all the voices click with me. Knuckles doesn't really sound as tough as you'd expect him to be, and I don't think I need to say anything for Big the Cat. Duke Nukem? Really?
Hold on, Froggy, I'm coming!
Let's get to the meat and potatoes of Sonic Adventure. You have 6 playable characters: Sonic for high-speed action, Tails for much of the same thing, only you're racing Sonic, Knuckles hunts for pieces of the Master Emerald, Amy is constantly being chased by Zero, Big goes fishing, and Gamma shoots everything in plain sight. Sonic and Tails' stages are very fun and provide much of the same high-speed gameplay that you would have found in the previous games, only this time in 3D. To accommodate for the dimensional shift, Sonic can now perform the homing attack. If an enemy is close to you, press the jump button again in midair and Sonic will take it out in a matter of seconds. In my opinion, this was a good idea. Trying to land a precise hit in 3D with a character as fast as Sonic is easier said than done. Sonic and by extension Tails' levels are very open, and much like the classics, you're rewarded for your curiosity with extra lives and the sort. The spin dash is back, only this time it's been given a boost in power. If you charge upon an incline and jump, Sonic will gain some massive air thanks to Sonic's floaty jump. Some may hate the moon jump, but I love it. It helps me be more accurate when precise platforming is the subject. If that wasn't enough, you can use the spin dash consecutively, making this one of my favourite games to speedrun. As stated before, in Tails' levels you race Sonic to the goal. You can make things easier for yourself by flying through these boot rings. These levels are fun, if a little short, because of Tails' power of flight. But when I say you're racing Sonic, well, that's kind of an overstatement. Sonic doesn't provide any real challenge, so these levels for me just turn into smaller versions of Sonic's levels, which isn't bad, but it could have been better. I've never really fully enjoyed Knuckles' treasure hunting stages. They feel rather claustrophobic, which does mean finding the emeralds quicker, but I'd appreciate these levels a bit more if I had some more room to use Knuckles' climbing and gliding abilities. Amy's levels are usually hated by most fans for being of a much slower pace compared to that of the other characters, but I rather enjoy her gameplay. I think people completely miss the point of what Amy's gameplay is all about. Sonic is all about empowerment and adventure, barreling through robots without even breaking a sweat. Amy is an aspiring adventurer. She wants to do the same as Sonic, but ends up way in over her head. If you were rolling around at the speed of sound, that wouldn't fit the premise of these levels. You are being chased by a robot, so you're slower to make him more of a threatening presence. Amy in her story starts out as the same helpless little girl from Sonic CD, but by the end of her story she's one step further into becoming a grand adventurer like Sonic, Tails and Knuckles. Although I do wish that you could actually be caught by Zero to make it a bit more challenging. Gamma is another gameplay style I take a liking to. You have a time limit and it increases every time you shoot an enemy. In order to shoot a target, you need to lock onto them. The more enemies you lock onto, the bigger your time bonus. And trust me, racking up a huge combo can be really satisfying. The only problem with these stages is that, like Tails' levels, they are really short, so you don't really have much time to get a feel for how Gamma plays. I hate playing devil's advocate here, but I don't really find these levels all that slow. Sure, they're not Sonic speed, but you can still breeze through them at a decent pace. It's not Sandopolis, that's for sure. I've heard that Gamma stages were added into the game because fans demanded some form of shooting mechanics, and if that's the case, well, that just proves that Sonic fans really don't know what they want. Sega, let me level with you for a second. If I wanted to play Sega Bass Fishing, I'd play Sega Bass Fishing. I'm pretty sure everyone that's heard a bit or two about Sonic Adventure knows about this gem of a gameplay style. In Big's levels, you have to fish for his best friend Froggy. Granted, all you have to do is wiggle the lure around a few times and you've got him hooked. But still, fishing and shooting were added as some sort of tech demo to show what the Dreamcast was capable of. But if it doesn't remotely fit with the theme of the game, why did you even think of adding this in? Say what you will about Amy or Gamma, but at least the objective there is still get from point A to point B. One criticism that 3D Sonic constantly receives is the quote-unquote overabundance of automated sections for the sake of spectacle, like the boulder in Lost World. But the more I think about it, this isn't exactly new for Sonic. Want proof? How about getting stopped by Metal Sonic in Collision Chaos? Or better yet, the bombing sequence in Angel Island Zone, where instead of holding down, you're holding right. I know what you're gonna say, yeah, well at least it doesn't take control away from you completely. Ice Cap Zone. In fact, that's one of the worst offenders, as that goes on for almost a full minute. I bring this to your attention because I feel that the modern Sonic games are unfairly judged for things that the classics are just as guilty of. What would you rather? Boost pads automating you through a loop, or you try manually and suffer a cheap death because of it. Besides, I thought Sonic was always the action hero of video game characters. Heck, even one of the commercials parodies Indiana Jones. I thought Sonic's wacky antics were always part of his appeal, so why this is seen as a problem, I'll never know. Levels are broken up by 3 adventure fields: Station Square, Mystic Ruins, and the Egg Carrier. You can find various upgrades in the adventure fields, like Sonic's light speed shoes to dash along a trail of rings at high speed. Though it can be rather clunky, as you actually have to take time to charge it up, which can ruin the flow of the game in a lot of instances. Optional upgrades can also be found, giving you an incentive to explore, like Sonic's Crystal Ring to reduce the charge up time for the Lightspeed Dash, or Tails' Jet Anklet to make him fly faster. With these hub worlds present, I think that the game perfectly encapsulates the feeling of being on an actual adventure. It really helps Sonic's world come alive thanks to the various landmarks like the casino, Tails' workshop, and even Eggman's very own swimming pool. It's honestly quite charming. There are also various NPCs that inhabit the world along with Sonic. Humans in the Sonic franchise have always been a very controversial topic of discussion, even outside of the video games. To me, it helps further the immersion I talked about in my Sonic 1 review, about how Sonic's world feels very similar to ours while also having its own set of rules. At no point do the humans even look vaguely realistic. Even with the more lifelike looking orcas, they still have a cartoony feel to them, and I've never really thought that they clashed with Sonic's model. Speaking of Sonic's model, one detail that I really like in the original Dreamcast version is that the characters have a distinct fur texture to them, which helps the characters blend in more with the realistic looking game world. It's weird, a lot of the locations that you run around like Station Square feel like places you'd see in everyday life, but Sonic Adventure does them in such a way that they don't really feel out of place for a Sonic game. In fact, the neat thing about Sonic Adventure's development is that Sonic Team actually took a trip to South America to visit several ruins, beaches, hotels, and even train stations to make each of these landmarks as accurate to the real world as they could. The sandboarding minigame in Tails' story was added after the team discovered it was a real sport in Ica, Peru. After they discovered this, they felt very proud of themselves for putting it in the game. And so they should. There's a lot of effort here that really goes unappreciated by the gaming community. Sonic Adventure's soundtrack is fantastic, and it really gives off a strong sense of atmosphere. Some examples being the tribal chanting in Mystic Ruins, and who could forget Speed Highway's theme? Sonic Adventure was also the first game to introduce vocal tracks into the series, the first one being Open Your Heart by Crush 40, and man oh man does this raise the bar when it comes to video game soundtracks. General rule of thumb for the Sonic series is that even if the gameplay sucks, Sonic will always deliver on the goods when it comes to the soundtrack. The level variety here is also fantastic. You could be in an amusement park one minute to inside a volcano in the next. In the case of Sonic stages, they have a lot of shortcuts for you to take full advantage of using your spin dash jump. On the flip side, I find the bosses to be very underwhelming. Some of them can be fun like the Egg Viper, but a lot of them don't leave a lasting impression, final boss included. And in some cases they can be flat out boring. More specifically, I'm looking at the boss fight against Chaos 4. Not only do you have to wait for this guy to pop his head out of the water so you can jump on it, you also have to play this boss 3 times. Sonic, Tails and Knuckles encounter this guy at the exact same time, so if you're going to make me play through it multiple times, at least make it fun. Overall though, I think Sonic Adventure has aged fairly well. Don't get me wrong, it won't have the same impact on you as it did a decade ago, but it's nowhere near as terrible as the internet makes it out to be. I'll call out its flaws, sure, but this certainly isn't a bad or even a broken game. It's just some gameplay styles don't really fit with the series. I honestly find it very narrow-minded to call people nostalgically blinded for enjoying this game as if they couldn't possibly enjoy it otherwise. I didn't play the Sonic Adventure games until 2009, and at that point I'd already played the classics, Heroes, Shadow, and Unleashed at this point, and even then I enjoyed them all the same. Compared to the other games I just mentioned, I don't really have any memories with this game, and I can tell that there was a drastic difference in quality. I apologise if I'm stepping on anyone's toes here, that wasn't my intention, I just want to get that off my chest. So if you haven't played Sonic Adventure before and you've been following my reviews up to this point, give it a shot, you might just enjoy it. But what if you don't have a Sega Dreamcast? Well, that's where Sonic Adventure DX comes in, a 2003 remake of the original Sonic Adventure for Nintendo GameCube. It was also ported to Xbox Live, PlayStation Network and Steam if you want to play it that way. It features updated graphics as well as several extras which you unlock by getting all 130 emblems. Emblems are something you collect by beating different challenges, playing minigames, as well as finding them in the adventure field. I didn't mention this before because they don't really do anything in the Dreamcast version. If I'm truthful, some of the ways in which you get these emblems are pretty tedious. Every level in trial mode has 3 different ranked missions. Say for Sonic, rank C is get to the goal, rank B is 50 rings and reach the goal, and in rank A you have to reach the goal under an assigned time limit. For example, the rank A mission for Emerald Coast is that you have to clear it in under 2 minutes. However, if you're still not done with the rank B mission and you meet the requirements to clear the rank A mission, you will only be awarded the emblem for the rank B mission. Same goes for the minigames. If you get the highest score in the first act of Sky Chase on your first try, you'll be given only 1 emblem. And I think it's even worse there as you have to beat your previous high score. Adventure DX also has a mission mode containing 60 missions. They range from pathetically easy to infuriating. The worst one probably being mission 53, where you have to pass through a line of rings by jumping off 3 jump ramps at the end of Ice Cap. And god, do you have to be pixel perfect. If you find yourself getting too frustrated by these extra missions, you can always hang out in the Chow Garden, where you can hatch and raise Chow. These colourful creatures will constantly appear in the Sonic series from this point forward. When you smash up robots, the animals from inside them will be released, which you can then give to your Chow to increase their stats. As Chow grow older, they'll start learning various activities, such as dancing and drawing with crayons. Once your Chow is fully trained, you can enter them in the Chow races, which you'll need to do in order to get all 130 emblems. So what happens when you collect all the emblems? You get to play as Metal Sonic in trial mode. Not just that, in the GameCube version only, you can unlock all 12 Sonic the Hedgehog Game Gear games. Keep in mind that this was before compilations like Sonic Mega Collection Plus and Sonic Gems. Even cooler is that games like Sonic Drift and Tails Sky Patrol were previously only available in Japan. So these are some really awesome unlockables. Would I consider this port better purely from a gameplay standpoint though? No, not really. The updated graphics look okay, but they make the graphics look more like plastic dolls due to how shiny they are. The lighting effects and even some of the textures have been changed, and to me the Dreamcast version looked a lot nicer. I've also noticed that the DX version is significantly more glitchy when compared to its Dreamcast counterpart. Not to the point where it makes the game unplayable, but it is still an issue, though that would explain why people think this game is so broken. Sonic Adventure DX has some cool added features, but if you're looking for the best experience possible, play the Dreamcast version. Join me next time as we take a look at the incredibly polarizing sequel to Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2. Hello guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. It took me quite a while to make, so if you enjoyed it, I'd be deeply thankful if you could throw me a like, and if you enjoyed it that much, please consider subscribing. On screen I'll have a couple of annotations to take you to my next video on Sonic Adventure 2, as well as my last video on Sonic 3 and Knuckles, as well as a playlist to my eventual review series on the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comics. Don't worry guys, I'm working on it. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter where I post updates regularly. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.